I'm Bob Clagett. I run a channel here on YouTube called I Like to Make Stuff where we make all sorts of projects. But today we're working with Lowe's to make a project for the whole family here in my backyard. Let's check it out. Today we're going to make a really small mini golf course in our backyard. I started out taking advantage of the terrain and the hill and used some spray chalk to outline the area that I want to cut into. So you're going to start down here on this end and putt around this shape to a hole that's down here. And then that'll go down into a pipe underneath the ground that will split into multiple veins that will go down to the lower green. They'll come out in random locations and then we can have one or two or more holes down here to change the game. So the first thing is to dig down into the ground so we can put a base of gravel. But before you start digging in your backyard, make sure to call the local utilities and have them come mark where all the lines are so you don't mess anything up. Over the weekend I got both of these sections dug out, and we also got a whole lot of rain, which means the holes got really muddy. So before we put anything on top of them, I want to use this tamper to knock down all that mud and get it as compact as possible. Then we're going to lay down some gravel as a base. I got the gravel laid down in the top section and the bottom section, and then to connect those two, I dug a trench to lay down some PVC. This is 2-inch PVC pipe, and so that's going to make the hole here quite a bit smaller than a normal mini golf hole, but that's just going to make it more interesting. Now this is going to carry the ball from the top to the bottom, but we've got a split in the middle so that there's some random placement. I wanted to make sure that as the ball came down this pipe, it was forced to go left or right and wouldn't get stuck right there in the middle. I tried a bunch of existing fittings from Lowe's, but I didn't find one that worked, so I ended up making a custom fitting, an actual Y, by cutting 2 of these in half and gluing them together. I went ahead and added a hose clamp just to make sure that they wouldn't come apart because this is going to get buried under a lot of dirt. So now that that piece is in place, the ball will come down this main channel and it is forced to go left or right. And as long as my new fitting is level, it should be pretty random. I left these pipes a little bit longer than they're going to need to be because we're going to build a retaining wall right here out of some bricks. And so once I get that retaining wall in place, I'll go back and cut these off so that they're flush with the wall. I've got this all in place, so let's test it out and make sure that everything works. So now that we know those pipes are good and the balls are going to go where we want them to be, we're going to lock this thing in place by putting down some gravel underneath it so it can't sink anymore. And then we're going to put all the dirt and the grass back on top of them and try to get some grass growing. I got all the dirt and the grass put down back on top of the pipe. So now before we put the concrete down, I want to use this PVC cap as the hole. I'm going to put in 1 or 2 of these down here so we have multiple types of gameplay. But I'm going to push this down into the gravel and temporarily put in a pipe so it doesn't fill up with gravel or concrete. And this will hold down here while we put in the concrete on top of it. If this ends up protruding too much, we can always go back and cut it off flush with the top of the concrete. I've laid out several bags of concrete on top of this, and we're just trying to spread them out by hand. We used a stick to kind of try to even it out a little bit. It doesn't need to be perfectly flat or level because it's going to get covered up with the green. And honestly, the more variation you have in the surface, the more fun the game's going to be to play. So next up, we're going to spray this down really lightly, but really well, so it can harden up. As I'm wetting this down, I wanted to point out, I did say concrete earlier, but technically this is mortar. It's a little bit more forgiving than concrete, and it doesn't have any rocks in it, so it's pretty even, which will make for a better surface finish here. We finished up the mortar on that green. We have to make sure that we spray it every once in a while to keep it wet. That's part of the curing process. Just follow the instructions on the bag of mortar that you get. Now down here, we're gonna do basically the same thing, but before we spray it, we're gonna lay in the first row of bricks for a retaining wall. And that's gonna run all along this side, all the way around, and just put in the first layer. And once we get those locked in, then we'll work on stacking them up. So I'm gonna lay down some mortar along this edge and then start to lay down the first layer of bricks. While we're waiting on the mortar to set up, I'm going to go ahead and use some landscape construction adhesive to attach the wall. I'm going to put a bead of it across the top of this first level of bricks and then add a second and possibly a third level of bricks to get it high enough. Then we'll come back and backfill behind that wall with some extra dirt just to make sure that this level is up to the top of the wall. We'll do that where we need to, but actually one level is going to be fine for a lot of this. Now the retaining wall is in place, so we're going to use this oscillating tool to cut off the PVC pipes. I'm going to make sure that this is flush with the wall and just cut through it at an angle. That's one of the big advantages of a tool like this. Now that the mortar is all dried and set up, we're going to put down some indoor-outdoor carpet. This should be perfect for the green. This gets attached down to the mortar with some contact cement that's made specifically for indoor and outdoor use. To trim out this whole thing, we're going to use this rubber landscape edging. This is great because you can easily put it down with some included stakes, and it gives you a nice flat edge on the outside that you can mow right up against. This project's been a blast to do, and the kids and the adults are both having a whole lot of fun with it. Now it's going to be totally different if you build something like this based on where you put it, and you can add lots of other features like landscaping to make it unique for you. We'd love to know what you think about this one. Let us know down in the comments, and make sure you subscribe to the Lowe's channel because we've got some other great outdoor projects coming up really soon. I'm Bob from I Like to Make Stuff. We'll see you next time.